when Casei Jones, a mum of 4 kids, just vanished from her home in Florida. Her friends and family were completely lost. They had no clue what to even think. But then, over the next few weeks and months, all 4 of her kids went missing too, and that's when it hit everyone. Something truly horrific had happened. Now, everyone has their own idea of what real evil looks like, but honestly, I think a lot of you would agree, the guy behind all this, yeah, he's pretty much the textbook definition of it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Jaxon channel. Today we've got a story packed with scams, betrayals, international fugitives, and cold-blooded murders. But before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and drop a comment telling me what time it is and which city you're watching from. Alright, let's get started. Summerfield, Florida is this small town right in the heart of the state, about 30 miles north of Orlando. It's known for its chill vibe, green surroundings, and cute little lakes, basically the perfect spot to kick back in nature. Tourists can enjoy fishing, picnics, and strolling through the local parks. Plus, the town has a handful of historic buildings and cozy cafes, where you can really get that small town Florida feel. With a population of around 27,000, Summerfield has stayed pretty small for decades since most attention usually goes to the coastal cities nearby. But here's the thing, it's got a major perk: affordable housing. Add in highly rated schools and one of the lowest crime rates in the whole state. And it's easy to see why the community was completely shocked when this case came to light. Back in 2019, just off Highway 27, lived the Jones family, dad Michael, mum Casei, and their 4 kids: Cameron, Preston, Macaulay, and Diana. The kids ranged from 1 to 10 years old. This family of 6 had a mix of backgrounds. The older kids, Cameron and Preston, were from Casey's previous relationships, while Macaulay and Diana were Michael's biological children. Just to be clear, Michael did have other kids from past relationships, but thankfully, they weren't involved in this story at all. Let's start with Michael. He was born on May 1st, 1981, and grew up in Vermont. And, oh my god, while you'd hope his childhood was happy, it really wasn't. Sadly, he suffered abuse at the hands of his father and grew up in poverty. Teachers, who had no idea what he was going through, described him as a lost and confused kid. Looking back, it's easy to see why. Even though his dad eventually went to jail, Michael's mum moved on and started a new relationship with a guy who, unfortunately, ended up repeating the same abusive behaviour. It wasn't until after that Michael finally hit his late teen years in a better place. He joined the US Navy as a medic, and it was during this time that he met his first wife, Sarah. That's basically how Michael became a family man. He and Sarah had 3 kids together. The structure of family life, a sense of responsibility, and working as part of a team seemed to steer him in the right direction. After a few years in the service, Sarah even helped him land a job at a local veterinary clinic. Turns out, Michael really fell in love with that work. People even said he practically ran the clinic. But, as life would have it, the new job also introduced him to a new woman, Casei. Casei had a totally different childhood than Michael. She was born on December 23rd, 1986, to her mum Nikki and dad David. There was about a 5-year age gap in favour of Michael. She grew up in Goshen, Indiana, went to Mary Beck Elementary, and after graduating from Elkhart Memorial High School in 2009, she moved down to Florida. At first, she worked as a dog groomer, but eventually she worked her way up to become a veterinary technician, or like they call it in the UK, a veterinary nurse. Friends describe Casei as this incredibly kind, caring person who would literally give you the shirt off her back without thinking twice. And on top of that, she had this amazing smile and a laugh that just lit up the room. Working at the same veterinary clinic as Michael, they, no surprise here, ran into each other. That chance meeting completely changed both of their lives. Colleagues who got along well became friends, and eventually, those friendships turned into something romantic. Yep, they started dating. This led both of them to leave their previous partners and start a family together. Michael became a stepdad to Cameron and Preston, while his biological children from his first marriage stayed with Sarah. Then, in December 2016, and again in August 2018, Michael and Casei welcomed their own kids, Macaulay and Diana. After getting married on Halloween in 2017, Michael and Casei moved into a 2-bedroom, 2-bath trailer on Southeast 86th Terrace in Summerfield, Florida. It wasn't huge for a family of 6, but the rent was affordable, and honestly, they seemed happy together. It's worth noting though, that Michael's past wasn't exactly clean. Back in 2015, he got arrested for theft, he stole money, computer equipment, and firearms from his workplace. And yep, that was the same veterinary clinic where both Sarah and Casei worked. Sadly, Casei forgave him so completely that she even helped him through it, supporting the family, while Michael ran off to New Mexico, trying to dodge arrest. Casei was an insanely proud mum and absolutely loved watching her kids grow up, thinking about the future and wanting to preserve those happy moments forever. She even started a YouTube channel to upload all the big family events. You'd see Michael playing with the girls, goofing around with his wife, and the whole family just having a blast on the weekends. Watching their everyday life through that camera, you'd think they were this totally content, happy family. Michael came across as calm and generally satisfied with life, and even though Casei mostly stayed off camera, you could hear her laughing and giggling a lot. Looking at those videos, you could only come to one conclusion. Their life seemed carefree and joyful when they were together. But the truth? Oh man, it was nothing like that. And sadly, not long after the last video was uploaded, that perfect, happy picture was about to shatter completely. Behind the doors of the house at 14,680 Southeast 86 Terrace, one of the most horrifying real-life nightmares was about to unfold. The first red flags showed up on July 10th, 2019. Casey's friends and family noticed she suddenly stopped answering calls and was dodging plans. And when she did manage to message someone on Facebook or other apps, the messages were off. Like, the way they were written, the tone, the style, it just didn't feel like her. One of the people who stopped hearing from her was Richard Bowers, Casey's ex and the dad of Preston and Cameron. On July 27th, he drove by their house to pick up the boys for a couple of weeks, and Casey was nowhere to be seen. When he asked Michael where she was, Michael said she had left town. Since Richard and Casey had argued in the past, he just assumed she didn't want to see him. So, without digging further, he took the kids and headed home. Then, on August 1st, Casey's mum, Nikki, got a text from her daughter's number. In it, Casey supposedly asked Nikki to take care of Macaulay and Ayana for a few weeks. Nikki agreed, but when the kids were dropped off, she didn't see her daughter at all. The only one who showed up? Michael. It felt super weird to Nikki she hadn't seen Casey in person or even heard her voice for 3 weeks. While both groups of kids were away, Michael wasn't alone. He was taking care of his kids from his first wife, Sarah. But on August 11th, Sarah's kids returned home, which meant Cameron and Preston were back under Michael's care, and supposedly Casey's as well. Week after week went by, and nobody had seen Casey in person. Michael was the one handling all the questions about the kids and the household, but then things got even scarier. Now nobody had seen or heard from Preston and Cameron either. During this time, Michael posted an ad on Facebook Marketplace to sell 2 twin mattresses. A couple from the Summerfield area bought them. On August 17th, they came to the Jones house to pick up the mattresses. And the whole meeting was super weird. First off, the mattresses smelled like death. And second, Michael acted extremely strange and nervous. By August 22nd, Richard tried to wish his son a happy birthday, but got no response from anyone. That's when the first real alarm bell started ringing. Then, just a few days later, on August 28th, Macaulay and Ayana also completely disappeared. No calls, no messages, nothing. Around the same time, even stranger things started happening. First, the Jones family received an eviction notice. They had 2 weeks to leave the house. And then, as many Floridians might remember, Hurricane Dorian was barreling toward the coast. Dorian was a Category 5 hurricane, one of the most powerful ever to hit the northwestern Bahamas at the time. Florida declared a state of emergency across the entire state. Tons of people were scrambling for shelter, either at local community centers or heading away from the storm. Michael was one of the people who hurriedly left the area. But, and this is super suspicious, he went alone. He drove north to his ex-wife Sarah's house to ride out the storm with their kids. He stayed with Sarah for 10 whole days, while the hurricane raged in Florida. But the entire time, Sarah never saw him call Casey, or their kids. It seemed odd, but she figured Michael and Casey had their problems, so she didn't press him about it. Right after the hurricane passed and the Jones family still hadn't returned home, neighbors started noticing an insanely strong and disgusting smell coming from the house. Someone quickly let the landlord know. Since, on paper, the family was already supposed to have moved out, the landlord decided to peek in through the windows and even go inside. The house was still full of furniture and personal belongings, but the smell, oh man, it was unbearable. You could only describe it as the stench of something dead. So here's the big question. Why did Casey's friends and family wait so long to alert the authorities about her and the kids going missing? Even though people were worried for her safety, they assumed Michael might just be hiding from the law again. Maybe the whole family had gone off the grid to keep him safe. But on September 14th, 2019, after 66 days of complete silence from Casey, her mum Nikki finally couldn't take it anymore and called the Marion County Sheriff's Office, asking for a welfare check. By that point, 66 days had passed since anyone last spoke to Casey. 34 days since Cameron and Preston were last seen. 17 days since Macaulay and Ayanna had gone off the radar too. The police were seriously concerned and rushed to the house. When they got there, just before midnight, neighbours told them the Jones family hadn't been seen in over 2 weeks, and the stench was still coming straight from the house. The officers immediately recognised the smell. It was the unmistakable stench of a decomposing human or animal body. On top of that, the house looked eerily empty, like someone had just cleaned it. Part of the floor looked new, but on the old floor, there were noticeable red stains.
Alright, and the whole property was cleaned out, correct? And Joe, did you have a cleaning crew come in and clean up, or? Can you hear me, Joe?
What's that?
Did you have a cleaning crew come in and clean up, or did you just have a guy do it?
So I'm gonna plead the fifth on that.
Okay. No, I'm just talking about who cleaned up, like not the property. I don't care about the property. Like who like mopped the floor and stuff.
Yeah, one of my guys mopped the floor. I'm not sure which one.
Okay. So you didn't like hire a crew to come do it, just one of your guys that normally work for you.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I needed to know. Did the guy that you had clean up, did he tell you he put some fans in all the rooms and have like little fans running?
Yeah, because it smelled.
Okay. Do you know what he used to clean up with? Did he tell you?
No.
Were there any, did you say there were some repairs done?
Alright, officer, I think that's it. I think I'm gonna ask you guys to leave.
Okay, well, we're walking right out the front door right now.
At first, the officers had entered the house with the landlord's permission, but they were kicked out once they started asking too many questions. Even so, the evidence left behind was more than enough to seriously alarm the police. So, they did everything they could to get in touch with the Jones family. Unfortunately, no matter how hard they tried, all they got in return was silence. Eventually, a missing persons alert was created and posted on Facebook for Casey, Preston, Cameron, Macaulay, and Ayanna. The notice said they were missing and could be in danger. And that's when everything took a sharp turn. That very same day, police in Brantley County, Georgia, about 170 miles north of Summerfield, responded to a report of a suspicious situation. Michael Jones had veered off the road and crashed the family car into a concrete drainage tunnel. Michael himself got out unharmed, but the car was completely destroyed. As soon as officers arrived, they noticed a strong, horrible stench. When they asked Michael about it, he made a horrifying confession. He told them that if they checked the car, they'd find his wife's body inside, already decomposing. And more than that, he was ready to show them where he had buried his children's bodies. Michael was arrested immediately. After he revealed where to look for the kids, Charlton County authorities joined the search. In a wooded area near Highway 301, they discovered a large patch of freshly disturbed soil. Beneath it, in the recently dug ground, lay the bodies of Cameron, Preston, Macaulay, and Ayanna. Anyone who knew the Jones family was left devastated, horrified, and outraged by the news. While people had long been worried about their disappearance, no one could have imagined that Michael was capable of such horrific acts. It was the most terrifying ending anyone could even imagine. Their deaths caused unimaginable pain. Richard Bowers lost 2 sons and his ex-wife, the woman he had once shared a life with, who had left him for Michael. And Nikki had to endure an unspeakable nightmare burying her own daughter and 4 grandchildren. It also became clear that Michael's actions had permanently shattered the psyche of many people close to the family. One of the most shocked was his ex-wife, Sarah. It turned out that their shared children had spent nights at his house several times even after he had killed his wife. During that time, they were completely under the control of a murderer. And that's not even the whole story. Remember, Michael even hid out at Sarah's house with the kids during Hurricane Dorian, and shockingly, this happened after he had already killed his entire family. That means Sarah spent over a week under the same roof with a mass murderer, completely unaware. Given the scale and brutality of his actions, it's chilling to imagine what he could have done to his other kids, or even to Sarah. Luckily, for whatever reason, he never went down that path. So, by some miracle, Sarah and the kids survived. But now, all of them are left carrying this massive emotional burden, trying to process what their father did and somehow learn to trust people again. After his arrest, Michael voluntarily agreed to an interview. During questioning, he was calm, collected, and described his actions clearly. He didn't try to lie or mislead the officers. In fact, he even thanked them for catching him, saying, and I quote, "I couldn't do anything right anymore." According to Michael, it all started with a heated argument where Casei accused him of cheating with another woman. He denied it, which made the fight even worse. Then, Casei allegedly approached him with a baseball bat, and after she shoved him a few times, Michael lost control. He grabbed the bat and struck her several times in the head. Tragically, he didn't stop until he made sure she was dead. He then put her body in a plastic container and hid it in a closet, cleaning up all the visible blood. Meanwhile, the 4 kids were asleep in the house. After her death, Michael began weaving a web of lies to cover up what he'd done. Over the following weeks, he used Casey's phone to send messages to her friends and family via Facebook and text, making everyone think she was still alive. On August 10th, 31 days after killing Casei, Michael decided to kill her 2 sons. Without going into gruesome detail, he strangled Cameron. The next night, he killed Preston, using plastic zip ties to strangle him. Weeks turned into months, and especially in Florida's hot, humid climate, Michael ran into a new horrifying problem. The bodies started to decompose. He tried using cat litter to absorb the fluids, but as we know, it didn't stop the smell, it spread fast. By August 23rd, with his wife and 2 stepsons already dead, Michael received an eviction notice, which only added more pressure. He couldn't keep the bodies in the house anymore, and if he wanted to continue covering up his crimes, he would have to replace the floor. 5 days later, on August 28th, Michael brought his 2 daughters to the local police station. He sat with them on a bench outside, trying to summon the courage to confess. But, unfortunately, his tiny bit of resolve quickly turned into pathetic cowardice. When he went back home, that weakness morphed into his true monstrous self. That same night, Michael drowned both of his daughters in the bathtub. 2 days later, during the hurricane, Michael drove to Jacksonville to stay at his ex-wife's house. No one, neither she nor anyone else, had any idea he'd arrived with all 5 bodies in the trunk. The bodies stayed there for 16 days, until Michael finally buried his children, and as we know, that's when he was finally caught. At the time of death, Casei was 33 years old. Cameron was 10, Preston 5, Macaulay 3, and little Ayanna just 11 months old. Moving on to the legal side of things, Michael's trial began on December 8th, 2022. And, as you can probably guess, his chances of walking free were basically 0. Because there was no premeditation for Casey's murder, he was tried for second-degree murder, but for the murders of the 4 children, he was charged with first-degree murder. Since he had already confessed to killing the children, the least he was facing was life in prison without the possibility of parole. However, there's a critical detail. In Florida, the death penalty is still on the table. Autopsy reports and police records presented in court confirm some truly grim facts. Cameron had a broken lower jaw at the time of death. Preston's neck had a plastic zip tie. Macaulay and Ayanna's bodies were found in a small plastic container, inside of which were a baby bottle labelled with Ayanna's name and tiny little sandals for the girl. Casey's body was wrapped in a carpet and a black and white shower curtain. Her skull was damaged at the forehead, and the injury suggested a strong, intentional blow with a blunt object, not an accident. During the trial, the defence tried to convince the jury to show Michael mercy. Their arguments included alleged violent interactions with Casei, portraying her as the aggressor, a traumatic childhood, drug use at the time of the murders, a complicated history of mental health issues. The defence pointed out that Michael had endured an extremely abusive childhood. He was a victim of sexual abuse by his father and, eventually, by his stepfather. They also claimed he had a well-known habit of banging his head against walls and floors, trying to drown out the voices in his own mind. While this was part of their defence strategy, friends and family only confirmed some of his issues. Many also testified that, in reality, Michael had been the aggressor toward his wife throughout their marriage. And while Casei wasn't exactly an angel, her sister admitted she could be aggressive, stubborn, and even physically violent. The court recognised that the true abuser was Michael. The defence also argued that Casei often dominated him, and that his recent traumatic experiences and psychotic episodes had caused a complete mental breakdown. Michael himself claimed that constant arguments and pressure from Casei were harming his psyche. He even tried to justify killing the children by saying that now they could be with their mother. Dr. Janice Castillo, a clinical and forensic psychology expert, concluded that Michael grew up in a deeply dysfunctional family, marked by sexual, psychological, and physical abuse, as well as general household violence. But the prosecution was relentless. All 5 murders happened over a span of 49 days, showing that Michael had more than enough time to calm down and think through his emotions, but instead, he acted coldly and deliberately. During that time, he covered his tracks, using Casey's phone to deceive friends and family, lying to his ex-wife, and even asking her to provide a fake alibi. During the trial, his ex-wife Sarah said, "I just wish they'd hang him already and be done with it, because I don't think he deserves even one more day on this earth," she added. In Florida, defendants convicted of first-degree murder can be sentenced to death if the jury unanimously recommends it. In Michael Jones's case, on January 13th, 2023, that's exactly what happened. The final decision now rests with Judge Anthony Tati, who hasn't set a sentencing date yet. But given the circumstances, it's almost certain he'll follow the jury's recommendation. This case is one of the darkest I've ever covered. Michael Jones killed 5 of the people closest to him, 4 of them completely innocent children who depended on him entirely. The murders unfolded over 49 days, across 4 separate stages, and unlike the death of his wife, they weren't a spontaneous loss of control in the heat of the moment. He kept returning to new acts of violence again and again. Whether you believe in the death penalty or not, there's no denying that his actions place him among the most brutal criminals. Killing a spouse is already a horrific crime that cannot be forgiven, but murdering 4 innocent children is so terrifying it's almost impossible to comprehend. Watching Casey's videos, you can see how sweet these kids were, and that their own father could do this to his own blood is beyond description. During the trial, Casey's sister said that the deaths of her sister and the children shattered their family. Their pain was unimaginable. Casey's sister had to quit her job because she constantly faced reminders of the children. After losing her job, she couldn't get out of bed for more than 6 months. The painful thought that her 4 nieces and nephews would never finish school, never marry, and never have children of their own haunts her to this day. Nothing can fill the void left by Casey and her children. Technically, because of the gaps between the murders, Michael also qualifies as a serial killer. Alongside that, he earned other horrifying labels: Family Annihilator and Worst Father of the Year. I honestly cannot comprehend his actions. While I do feel some sympathy for his childhood, filled with trauma and abuse, it neither explains nor excuses his crimes. I sincerely hope that the families and friends affected by this tragedy find the peace and comfort they deserve in the years ahead. So, that wraps up this chilling case. Thank you for being with me today. I have one question for you. What do you think should happen to Michael? Does he deserve life in prison or the death penalty? Share your thoughts in the comments in just a few words. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video to support me. And of course, I'll be back soon with a new video. Until then, take care of each other and stay safe. Thank you and goodbye.